All right. Hello, everybody. First of all, my apologies for taking so long to upload a video. I've been very busy at work and other projects, so I just didn't have time to create videos. I actually don't know how people that live off by YouTube do it, because making videos, it's a lot of work. Um, okay, so the video for today, it's going to be, we're going to create our very first pattern, which is going to be a skirt, the most basic thing you can do with patterns. The goal for this is mostly for people that come from 3D, from a 3D background, just like me. Because when you don't know anything about fashion or anything like that, and you're confronted with CLO, the worst thing is not knowing what to do when things go wrong. Like, for example, if there's a fold or a wrinkle that you just don't know how to fix it because you took the pattern from somewhere else, you're putting it on your avatar, and then suddenly nothing matches and you don't know what to move, what points to move, what to do with them. So we're going to start with the most basic thing, which is a skirt, which is going to actually, we can learn a lot from the skirt, at least the basic stuff, so that we can lose the first the fear of moving points because we don't know what we're doing, and then secondly, so that we can make more informed decisions when we are moving such points. So first of all, I'm going to load, well, first things first, because the time that has passed from my last video to now, CLO, and I'm pretty sure that Marvelous Designer as well, has changed a lot. Now the menus are on the sides and all that. I'm not going to waste time explaining the differences because for today, there's no need. For the basic stuff is there, it's the same. If there's something that it's different in Marvelous Designer, just let me know. I don't have it anymore, the program, I mean, so I'm not sure if everything that I will show will be there as well. Like, for example, the avatars. I'm actually not sure if there are avatars in like this in Marvel Designer. Anyway, so I'm going to go to a library and I'm going to load an avatar. Because I'm doing a skirt, I'm going to load a female avatar, but feel free to load also a male avatar for whatever reason. I don't care. And I am also going to load a size file. Again, I'm not sure if in Marvelous Designer you have something like that, but it doesn't matter. The only reason why I'm doing it is just to have some measurements, which could be the same as loading an avatar that I've done myself, that I don't know what the measurements are. So I'm just going to go to any of these folders and I'm going to load, I don't know, this first one. I don't care. Right. Yeah, so in order to complete the skirt, we need some measurements. And for that, I'm going to load my trusted Epic pen here to draw these out. So the first measurement that we will need, it's going to be the waist circumference. So apologies for my mouse writing. Very difficult. So it's going to be the waist measurement divided by 2, because we're going to do half of the pattern. The second measurement that we need is the hip circumference. So hips, the same, divided by 2. The third is going to be actually the distance from measurement 1 and 2. So let's put just distance. I'm going to make it shorter. I'm going to remind you what it is when we're measuring it. And then the second to last is the length of the skirt. So, length, which I'm going to write it now because this is going to be whatever you choose. So in my case, I'm going to choose to make it 60 centimeters long. And then finally, the weirdest measurement of all this, it's going to be the distance from nipple to nipple. I will show you why we need it. Well, no, where we need it. The why, it eludes me, so I'm not sure. Right, so the waist is going to be measured here. The hips is going to be measured around there. The length then is going to be that. The distance, the length is going to be the skirt, which is going to be of our choosing. And then finally, the distance there. To measure, at least in CLO, again, I'm not showing Marvelous Designer, but it's very easy. We are going to use the measurement lines here. So we have the basic circumference. That's perfect for the waist. There's already a line, but we can decide to measure it somewhere else. Like for example, in the narrowest part of the waist, like that. So there you go, 68.5. So I'm not good with math, so I'm going to use the calculator quite a lot. So 68.54 divided by 2, that's 34.27, right? So let's write that. So it's going to be 34.27. The numbers, I'm going to try to write them down well, because otherwise I won't be able to read them myself. Right, so now we need to measure the hips. So it should be in the widest area, but this line is actually in the correct place. Of course, they're in the correct place. Why they wouldn't be? So there you go. This is, let's take the calculator again. Sorry, I was very bad at math. That times 2, divided by 2. So that's 44 0.81. Perfect. Right, so now we need the distance from the waist to the hips. For that, we can use either the surface tape or the linear one. There's going to be a slight difference. In reality, we should have measured the thing as a straight line. But to do that, well, there's no tool for this in CLO, at least. You could do it using the height measurement and then subtracting, but we're just going to do something simpler, which is going to be just take this and just run with it. Okay. So now if I made a mistake, yeah, do it again. There you go, that will be enough. So that's 19.77. We don't need to have this. So 19.77. The length is that. And now the weirdest measurement of them all. For this, I am going to use the linear one. I don't want the measurement line to calculate the valley and all that, because yeah, we don't need that. All right, there you go. So 17.9. Oh wow, that was a terrible 7. Sorry. Well, we can leave the lines there. They will be there no matter what, so we can always go back to check them. Okay. Right, so we have the numbers. Now we're going to start with the block pattern. So for that, we're going to start with a rectangle, which is going to be as wide as the widest part, which is the hips, and as tall as the length of the skirt. So the width is going to be 44.81. Now, being that accurate, I don't think it's that important, but let's just go with that. And then the length, which in my case is going to be 60. There you go. So that's going to be half of the skirt. Next thing that we will do is we're going to, first of all, draw a line that's going to run in the middle, representing what is the front and what is the back. So this is going to be the front and this is going to be the back. Remember, I mean, it doesn't matter. Oh, sorry. It doesn't matter which one is which, but we have to remember which one we are representing as being the front and the back. I'm going to leave it there so that I know this is the front with the silhouette of the avatar. It's easy to remember. This is the back. We could create the symmetry now, but I'm going to leave it for now. And then we need the line that's going to mark where the hips are. That's why we measured the distance from the waist to the hip. So that's 19.77. For that, with an internal line, I'm going to click on the top, go down, right click, and then on the menu, I'm going to just input that number. So 19.77. And there you go. So I have a reference where that line is. Now I can just draw the hip line. There you go. Perfect. So at least now we know where the side is and where the hips are. Perfect. So here's the thing. If we would just use this, that wouldn't work all that well. And I've seen people use things like the shrinkage or just make it very small so that it stretches and fits to the body, which is nice and all if you're going to do it that way, but it's not correct. So the problem is that obviously the waist is much narrower than the hips. And if this is on the body, either it's going to be too compressed on the hips or it's going to be too wide on the waist. So we need to do something about it. Now, I am assuming that most of the people that watches my videos, however few you are, come from a 3D background, or that was my intention at least. So what we need to do is do the UVs, but in reverse. Now, if we had a sphere, right, and we can cut the sphere in half, the way to get the UVs from this, so imagine we only have a dome, right? Just forget about that, the lower side. So the way to open this up in the UVs would probably be to make some cuts on the top so that we can open it. We would end up with something like that. Right? There are some world maps that look like this. So in 3D, we would go from 3D to 2D this way, but in our case, we are starting from 2D and we need a 3D volume. So because the hips are rounded, we need to do just this, but in reverse. Here's what I mean. We are going to use a thing called darts, which look like little triangles, to get rid of the excess fabric that we don't need so that our final measurement will be the same as the waist. Okay? If we take, like in the UVs that I showed with the world map, if we take fabric from this area, which is bigger than that, then the final measurement will be not only smaller, but also this will round like the sphere. It would get curved and round. Okay, so we need those triangles, the dots. Now, how much do we have to subtract? Well, that's easy. We just need to see the difference between one measurement and the other. That is, the hips measure 44.81, right? If we subtract then 34.27, we get 10.5. Let's just say that. So 10.5 is the difference between one and the other. That means that that's all we have to take from the top area so that this fits the waist. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, we are going to take this number and we are going to use it to know how much we have to subtract. Now, there's a convention. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a dart on the front, another dart on the back, and then on the side, we're going to also create something that looks like a dart, but it's going to be curved. It is curved so that it fits with the silhouette of the body. We, people, are much flatter from the front and the back. Even if that's the case, we are flatter from the front of the back than from the sides. There's much greater difference on volume there than there. So that's why this side, or at least that's what I think. Well, that's what I understood. That's why this is rounded, so that it fits to the shape, right? So we're going to create 3 darts. Now, it's not, it's probably not correct to divide this number in 3s. Usually, darts are much smaller than the side gap here. So what we're going to do is we're going to subtract a fixed number that it's common, well, that's what I've seen, and then the rest that we need to subtract, that's how much we're going to take from the side. I don't know why it does that. That's how much we're going to take out from here. So from this dot, we're going to take 3 centimeters. From this one, 3 centimeters as well. That's 6. So I hope that I don't have to, well, even I can do that. So we need to subtract 4 centimeters, 0.5 from this triangle. Now, this one is the easiest one because it is going to go all the way down to the hip line. That's easy. But now the problem is, how long do we make these darts? So the length of the darts, even though I'm going to give you some numbers, it's the thing we're going to vary, not only the position and the length and all that, to accommodate for the different body types. You will see that probably with this avatar, the front dart, it's not going to work with the measurements that I'm going to give you. That's all because of the volume of the people is different around this area or any other area. Everybody's different, so your avatar probably is not going to work that well with these measurements, but that's the tricky part. So for the one on the front, we're going to start with a length of 8 centimeters, and the one on the back is going to be 14, right? So to do that, I'm going to take again the internal line, and we're going to create that line. Now, where should we put the darts? We could put them in the middle, but that's where this weird distance between the nipples comes in. Now, as I understand it, we have to take this number, halve it, so, and that's the distance from the center front and the center back that the dart has to be. Why? I don't know. I haven't seen an explanation anywhere. So it's 8.95. So I'm going to click here, right there. Right click, 8.95. Okay, boom. That's where it has to be. And the same, 8.95. There you go. So that's where the dart has to be. And we also know how long it has to be. So I'm going to click, right click there, go down, right click so that I get the menu, 8 centimeters down. Okay, enter. And now the same here. So right click, sorry, left click, go down, right click, and 14. There you go. All right. Now I can get rid of these. I don't need them. I'm going to also delete these. They're not confusing. Every time I move it, it gets confusing. All right, so now we need to take 3 centimeters from each of these dots, which means that from every side, the triangle has to be of 1.5, right? There's probably a faster way of doing this. I'm going to do this way, 1.5 on each side. Easy peasy. Whoop, autosave. Oh, sorry. And the same here, 1.5. And 1.5. There you go. All right, so now 2.2, I guess, 2.25, right? 2.25. And same here, 2.25. Right, and now if everything is correct, and my math skills are not the best, but when we select all these lines, we should have 10.5. Perfect. Right, so now we can draw the triangles. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to just place my cursor on top of this line so that I get the straight line, and then go to the peak and there again, enter. Same thing here and enter. And the same will go for the hips. All right, so now these lines are not needed anymore. There you go. So that's what we have. Now, if we select the darts and right click, we can cut them. And now, if we measure this line, should be 34 point, well, it's a little bit longer, but we will fix that. It's a little bit longer, not that much. I don't think that's going to make a difference. Right, so we're going to curve the line on the hips. I'm going to just choose the edit curvature, the simplest one, just so it's a little bit more, it flows a little more natural. With the darts, it's not needed because they will be in a flatter area, but this, since it's going to be there on the hips, should be rounded a little bit. Doesn't matter, doesn't have to be super rounded, but yeah. Okay, now we need to do one last thing. As it is right now, it would work, but in order to have the skirt flow a little bit better on the body, we need to drop the front at least 2 centimeters, and we could also drop the back. The back is optional. I'm going to do it because that's how the correct pattern that I've seen should be, but this is optional. I think it looks better when this is not dropped, but we're going to do it anyways. So the easiest way of doing it is, again, with an internal line. We can start from the highest point and go to the lowest. I'm going to eyeball it, but I'm going to look there too, and the same on the other side. And now I'm going to round these a little bit just to see how it looks, right? And now I can move the pattern. So this point is going to go 2 centimeters down, and then these two should go at the same time. Now, if when you do this, you feel like it's wrong, let me first lower it so that it matches. So let me lower it 0.5 maybe. Oops, sorry, 0. Well, comma in this case. Maybe a little bit less so that it matches the line. Something like that, 34. Yeah. Okay, so if when you do this, you feel like that's wrong and you should lower this, remember that these two lines will be sewn together. So these points will be a continuation. That means that that's going to be there. And you can see that when you do this, they actually follow the curve pretty well. That means that the darts should be always at the same level because they will be joined. Now we could also curve a little bit our pattern. Okay, so that it goes a little bit more easy there. And now the same here. So this is going to be lowered too, and that will be lowered whatever amount vertically. But I'm looking at this one. And then edit the curvature, make it curved a little bit, not much. And now I'm going to get rid of the internal line because otherwise when we are sewing, it's going to mess around with the sewing tool. Right, so now we can Control D to get the duplicate. Remember, this is the front, this is the back. So keep in mind that. Let me clean this up. And now I'm going to turn on the arrangement points. It's very convenient so that I can just place the skirt around there. If it's not placed correctly, it doesn't matter, because if we go to the property and we go down to the arrangement area, The offset will help me to open the skirt up, and also I can move them around to position them a little bit better where they should be. There you go. Turn off the arrangement points. I feel like they slowed down the simulation. So, and now we can sew it using the super basic segment sewing tool because we have done the pattern. It's pretty simple. Oops. Sorry, it's mirrored, so you only have to do it once. There you go. All of them like that. Mirrored. And there you go. So that should work. Oops, sorry. I've done something wrong. Probably. I was doing it too fast. Front with the front, back with the back. There you go. Perfect. Okay, and the back looks pretty well. In the front, there's an issue. And that's exactly what I meant with how the different bodies will react different to how we have constructed the shape. So obviously no. What's happening here is this person lacks volume in this area, and that's why it looks like there's excess of fabric. If you start simulating and you pinch, you will see that if you had more volume here, the dart will look fine. Or if you start pulling, you will see that the dart gets better. That means that there's excess of fabric. So what can we do? Well, you can modify the lateral seam. As you can see, when I pinch here, that looks fine. So that means that if I get rid of some fabric in this area, it's going to look fine. But the easiest is to just modify the dart. If there is excess of fabric here, that means that I need to get rid of some fabric around this area. For that, if I lower the dart, now there's less fabric here. And so when I simulate, you will see that it starts to get better. Now I can move this all the way down. There's no actual limit. At least I don't think so. I don't know if there is. But this dart is the thing that we would move to get the different volume changes so that it fits the avatar that we have. You can see that as I move the darts around, I'm getting different, different volumes, basically, that they're not fitting this avatar exactly, but you can see that it does change. So I'm not sure if there's a limit of how low you can go, but I can see that there's something weird there. So I wouldn't cross the hip line. So I'm going to leave it something like that. I know that there is some issues here and there, but I am going to leave them for now. There's no point in getting that finicky when we are just making the most basic thing. You can play around with the dart and see if you can find a spot where you manage to get rid of those darts. You can see like that looks fine. The back looks okay. There's a little bit of excess there, but I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah. There you go. All right. We're going to finish the skirt by making the waistband, which is super easy. We only need a rectangle that's going to be as long as the waist. So for this, we can do it twice, or well, the easiest thing is to, because we have done this already, just input 34.27. The height is going to be of our choosing, but I'm going to choose the waistband to be 5 centimeters tall, but because we are going to fold it, I am going to choose 10. And then I'm going to make 2. I'm going to join them together. Well, no, I've changed my mind. I'm going to open it later. So yeah, 34. Okay. And now when I have the shape, instead of making the calculus, I'm going to just right click and unfold the thing. It is symmetric. So I'm going to open it with symmetry. I also need an internal line dividing it halfway so that I can fold it. And now I only need to sew it. So I'm going to use the free sewing tool, and the seam, I will choose it where it is. So I'm choosing that this seam is going to be on the back. So I'm going to start sewing either from left to right or right to left. It doesn't matter, but in this case, I'm going to start from left to right. So this is the back. So by holding shift, I am going to select all these lines one by one in succession in the same direction as I started. Let go shift. There you go. And now I'm going to place this on one of the front arrangement points because the sewing line is in the back. Like that. Turn the arrangement point off. And I'm going to right click and strengthen the thing because I want the waistband to be as rigid as possible so that when I fold it, it's easier to do so. So simulate, perfect. Now you can see that because of the strengthen, it's super straight. Now I'm going to sew the top of the waistband to the bottom and then turn or fold it. The order is not important. And because this is going to be sewn to itself like a sandwich, I need to change the sewing line type from custom angle to turned because the sewing lines are not in parallel, but one on top of each other. So, and then with the fold arrangement tool, left click and turn it over like that. Simulate, fine. Right click and take the strengthen off. Cool. And now to check the final result, I'm going to select the avatar and change the skin offset to be something much lower, like 0.1 or 5, something low. And then for the patterns, also in the simulation properties, I will change the quality to be a little bit higher, like 10. And then the collision, because by default is 2.5, it's making the fabric very thick because it's adding 2.5 to the base thickness of the fabric. So I'm going to lower this to 0.1 or something. And that's going to, there you go. Oh, now we can see all the errors. There you go. Okay, I wasn't a fan of this dart being so on the side, so I'm going to change that. There you go. There's also something weird going on there, which I'm not sure why it's happening. It's probably because of the shape of the. Oh, sorry, I meant to turn off the avatar. It's probably because of the shape of the hip line there. Varying that will change how that folding line looks. So that depends on the body. That's why when you go and try stuff on, you know, clothing on the shops, it will never match your body because we are all different. So, you know, some irregularities are expected and I think impossible to get rid of. So some of it we're going to leave it. You can see now that because we have more resolution, we can see much better the way we subtract fabric with the darts. You can see now how much excess there is. And as I make it bigger, I'm taking more fabric and it holds tighter to the body. It's not perfect. Also, the bodies of the avatars look a little bit weird, in my opinion. So yeah, we would have to play around with this a little bit, right? So, but yeah, I don't want to waste your time with this, but I can assure you that playing around with these measurements will yield a result that's going to follow the shape of the body well. Also, the fabric you're using, it's very important. At the moment, I think it's using the default, no, it's cotton poplin, right? So if we were using the default simulation, it would look different. Every fabric will react differently. Some stretch more than others. All right, so this is going in Okay, so you can see the peak there. That's also a sign that there's excess of fabric. So yeah, the shape of this avatar is very weird. Right, well, we could continue, I guess. There's also that there. But yeah, the fabric we're using will also have a big effect on how the pattern will react. So there's just many fabrics. These, all this operation of making darts and all that, it's there because the woven fabrics, which are the typical ones used in tailoring and all that. Maybe I'm saying something that's very silly, but they don't stretch as much as knits do, like t-shirts and all that. So the darts are much more important on that type of fabrics than on other types of fabrics. So that's why this exists. That's why the t-shirts that you buy have no darts. They don't need them. There you go, much better. I don't know if in Marvelous Designer this tool exists, but at the end when I've done my best and you know, because I'm not a pattern maker, not a fashion designer, there's going to be a point where I'm going to hit the, you know, my maximum of what I can do. Because I can play around with the darts, but there's going to be a limit of how much I can do with my limited knowledge. So there's a tool in CLO. I don't know if in Marvel Designer there is the same tool, but the Steam tool, which takes away fabric basically. So when there are faults like that, if you use this tool, you can make the fabric to shrink, and that way the folding. Oh, sorry. Wait. No, I was talking about this, and that way you can make these all these folds to disappear because you're taking away the fabric. You can see that will relax that area. Oh, sorry, no. Again, I'm not paying attention. Wait, I'm talking about this. There you go. Right. I'm going to lower this. That was too much shrinkage. And the same here. So there's excess of fabric there. So with this steam thing, I can get rid of some of the fabric, which will help a little bit. Right. Okay. I'm going to also show you another result that I got from another project. Well, it's the same thing, but it's an avatar with different measurements. Sorry. It's an avatar with different measurements, and you can see how tight follows the body. It's waving a little bit underneath, but yeah. So for this avatar, these measurements were a little bit better. So you can see that different bodies will react differently to the pattern, and you need to adjust it. Right. So okay, so to finish the video, I'm going to at least mention some of the variations we could do to this simple pattern. One of the the easiest ones would be to divide how much we are taking on this dart in two. And instead of one, we could have two. Now, this is purely static. The amount of fabric we're going to take is going to be the same. But instead of one line, we're going to have two. So, you know, that can help also aesthetically to make it look a little bit better. Also, one thing we could do would be to get rid of all the darts. And instead of using the darts to lower the volume, just make them gather on the waistband. This would be the most easiest ways of achieving the same thing. So let me show you how that will look. I have to get rid of the darts, which is easy. Just if you delete the vertices there, So I have the, don't know how I did that. I'm going to lower, oh no. Oh, there you go, yeah. So delete that. There you go. So that's the skirt without any darts. And now I'm going to sew it without a dart, which is, so that will result in a skirt with gatherings. Gatherings. There. So instead of having this clean thing, well, we're going to now have all gathering around it. Okay, which is also equally valid. Depends on what it is, what you're doing. The darts also can be placed in completely different ways. You can have two darts that go like that, so that you would end up with a skirt with the double darts going this way, or you can have bigger darts that go across. You could join these two pieces and take the same amount of fabric, but in a different way. For example, like that, something. I mean, I don't know if this would exactly work. Maybe that's not exactly correct. But the thing is that you can move the darts whatever you want to, more or less, so they can take away that kind of fabric. There's also another type of dart that looks very funny, which is, so this is the front. Well, let me clean this up. Starting to get a bit rambling at the moment, but which looks like this. Two triangles that look like that. That ends up with two lines there of gathering, which can look also nice. There are many more things that we can do with the skirt, but this is going to be for this video. When I have time, I will try to make some variations on this skirt so that we can explore all the things you can do with the pattern. Yep, but for now, this is going to be it. I hope that you like this video, even though it's short and maybe not much has happened, but I think you can learn much from it. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and see you around.